Okay, you're going to learn something new today. This is not the same thing as yesterday. I want to see the work shown today, please. I don't want to see just the answer because people mess it up constantly and it's from not showing the work, okay? Here's all I need you to do. Circle your equals and make your little line on this, whatever side the X is on. Now, look at that side. Between the 8 and the X, there's no symbol. Okay, yesterday there was a plus or a minus. No, you don't just add 8, okay? Because that does not mean X minus 8. See, that is negative 8 times X. When you have a times, I want you to circle the X and the negative 8 together. Just trust me on this, okay? So negative 8 times X is negative 72. We got to find what X equals. Now, to solve for X in a multiplication, you do the opposite of multiplication, which is divide, okay? To divide in an algebra equation, you need to underline both sides, okay? And under each line, you place the number that X is times by. It's times by negative 8, so I put negative 8 on each side. Then we cancel the negative 8's. And we have X, and then negative 72 divided by negative 8. Okay, if you need a calc, it's a positive because a negative times a negative is a positive. Okay, and that's 9. There's your answer. Now, if you want to check it, you can go negative 8 times X, I think, is 9, and that's negative 72. Okay, next problem. Circle the equals, make a little dash line on whatever side the X is on. Put a dot between the 5 and the X because there needs to be an operation sign. Then circle the X and the 5. Whenever X is being multiplied, we are circling it, the number that it's multiplied by along with the X. So to solve a multiplication problem, we need to do the opposite, which is divide. To divide in an algebra equation, you underline each side of the equation and you put the number multiplied by X, which in this instance is 5. Now, a times 5 and divide by 5 cancels the 5's out, and I now have just X by itself. On the other side, we take negative 65 divided by 5, negative 13. So let's verify our answer. 5 times X. Well, X is negative 13. I click equals and it's negative 65 just like it says. Now, this next problem, the X is over here, so that's where we're looking for operations. That is not a minus 6. Between the negative 6 times X, okay? Again, if there's a minus, the minus should be between the X and the 6. It's a negative in front of the 6. Negative 6 times X. So, circle that. Trust me, the circling will benefit you in the long run. So you see times, you are going to need to divide. Okay? So underline each side, and you divide by the number that is multiplied by X. In this case, negative 6. Don't make it positive 6 either. When you're dividing, it's got to be by this identical number. Okay? This number and this number should be exactly the same if I want to cross them out individually, okay? Now over here, negative 6. So over here we have just X. 60 divided by negative 6, okay? Negative 10. Now if you want to check and make sure that's right, you'll punch in negative 6 times X, but X is negative 10. See if that's 60. Yup. Okay, next problem. Circle. Make a wall on the side of the X. You need to put a times dot so there is a number between. Negative 12 times X is what that means. So you have multiplication. So to solve a multiplication problem, you divide. Okay? You do the opposite. You divide by the number that's multiplied by X. In this case, it's negative 12. That goes under here and under here. Okay. So taking an x times negative 12, then dividing it by negative 12 means those cancel. And it's got to be negative 12. Dividing's got to be done by the same number, okay? I said same number. Negative 12, positive 12 are not the same number. So you have x. And over here, negative divided by negative is a positive. It's going to be 4. So there's your answer. Now to check and see if that's right, go to the side that had the times. So negative 12 times x, which I think is 4, and that's negative 48. Doesn't take much, but you don't plus or minus, okay? That's the main thing. So x is on this side with a 5. What's the operation with the 5? It ain't plus, it ain't minus, it's times. So I do the opposite of times, which is to divide. So I want to see you underlining each side and placing the number multiplied by x under the line. Wait a second, I screwed this up. Here's what the problem should have said, I'm so sorry. Negative 40 equals 5x. There shouldn't be an x with the negative 40. That's ridiculous. Okay, I wrote that problem like an idiot. So divide by 5. Because see, then the 5's cancel out, then I put that same number 5 under the line over there. If I'm dividing this by 5, I got to divide this by 5. It's like a balance. Okay? It's like a weight bench. If you divide the weight on one side by 5, you'd have to divide the other weight by 5. So you got x by itself now. Because if you have a times 5 and a divide by 5, then they're gone. Okay? The operations have been canceled out. Negative 40 divided by 5 is going to be negative 8. Okay, over here. 64 equals 16x. So again, that means 16 times x. So to solve a multiplication problem, we need to do the opposite. Okay, divide by 16. Okay, not by 64. 16 is the number that we got to get off unmultiplied. We don't want that times 16 with the x, so I divide by 16. It's gone, but then I also need to put 16 under that line. So we have x by its lonesome, and then 64 divided by 16 is 4. Okay. Now, to check your answer, 16 times x. Well, I think x is 4. If I take 16 times 4, is that 64? Yes, it is. Okay. Okay, no number line. You're not thinking number line here because it's multiplication. You don't use number lines for multiplication. Okay, so you need to get a sign between them. There's not a plus or a minus, and we put a multiplication symbol to separate them so I know what operation that is. Okay, so to solve a multiplication problem, we need to divide. Okay, we will be dividing. Now, I have a lot of people, they don't know what number to put on the lines. It's the number with the x. A number multiplied by x is negative 8. So that's what I put under each line. Okay, because if I have an x times negative 8 divide by negative 8, those operations cancel and I just have x. Okay. Negative divided by negative is a positive, so it would be 9. Okay. Okay, let's make sure that's right. So negative 8 times x, which is 9. Okay, negative 72. Okay. X is over here with a 4. What sign's between them? Well, a multiplication, of course. So no number line. Don't add 4. Okay, you're not getting the negative 4. You're not adding. You're not subtracting. Multiplication problems, equations are solved by dividing. Okay. So that means you need to underline each side because that's how we express division, and we are going to use negative 4 as the divider. So then these can be crossed out. Now I have just x on that side. Then I have equals. Negative divided by negative is a positive, and that's going to be 4. Got a lot of 4s on this. So where's the multiplication? Right there. Negative 4 times x, but I just figured out x was 4. I'm checking my answer, making sure it's equal to the original equation, negative 16. Okay, you need to pause the video and do 1 through 8, and then resume it when you're done. Okay. I'm going over this sheet after you're done. Now we're solving for x in these. Okay. Now here's x. It's with a 3. What's between the x and the 3? A division line. So we solve division problems by multiplying. Okay. So you need to put a dot on each side, and with a 3, because that's one we want to get rid of. Okay, that's the operation we want to get rid of, the divide by 3. Well, if I multiply by 3, those operations cancel, and I have x, and 4 times 3 is 12. Okay. Now let's look at the original operation, x divided by 3. Well, I think x is 12. 12 divided by 3, that should equal 4. It does. Okay, next problem. Here's the equals, x is on this side, with a negative 6. Now, between those two, we have a division bar, okay? So, we solve division problems, okay? And actually, just like multiplying, I was putting a dot and circling it. With division, we want to circle that too. I know I didn't over here, I should have, okay? So, to solve a division problem, we need to multiply. So if x is multiplied or divided, its times are divided, you want to circle the number along with the x. Unlike yesterday when it was plus and minus, I was just circling the x. But with multiplying and dividing, you want to circle x and the number it's multiplied or divided with. Okay, so you're going to times by the negative 6. Because a times negative 6 and divide by negative 6 are the opposite, they cancel that operation. And I now have x by itself. Negative 3 times negative 6 is 18. Okay. Now, is that right? Here's the original division. X is 18, I think, divided by negative 6, and that's negative 3. Okay, x is over here with a 2. What operations between the x and the 2? Well, divided by. So to solve a divided by, I need to do the opposite of divided by, which is multiply. And also circle the x divided by 2. So you want to multiply by 2. Circling it will help you know what number you're multiplying by. Okay. So those cancel, and I have now just x by itself. A times 2 and a divide by 2 will cancel those two operations, and I will have just the x variable. Negative 12 times 2, that's going to be negative 24. Okay, next one. Okay, x is with a 5, the operation's divided by. So if you have divided or multiply, you need to circle the number that x is with, okay? So to solve a divided by, we times. So we times each side of the equation by 5, okay? So those two cancel, and now I have just x. A times 5 and a divide by 5 cancel. 10 times 5 is 50. Okay, next problem. X over here with a negative 6. What's the operation? Okay? Well, it's divided by. Okay, so I circle the divided by part. And we need to times in. Do the opposite, times by negative 6. Okay? So the times and divide by the same number, to cancel the operations, and I have x by itself. Then 12 times negative 6 is negative 72. You're welcome to check your answer. Okay, x divided by negative 6 was the original operation. So if x is negative 72 divided by negative 6, it should be 12, the original number, 12 is. Okay. Okay, so x is with a -3. What operation's between them? It's not a minus. There's a line between them. That means division, okay? So we need to solve a division by doing the opposite, multiplying by -3. Okay. Then a times and divide by the same number, cancel the operations, and I have just x. Okay, so -14 times -3 is 42. Okay, then, last couple problems. X, some number x divided by 7 equals 10. What's the number? Okay, well, x and 7 have a divided by operation, so I circle the divide. If you have times or divided by operation, you want to circle the number with the x. I wasn't doing that yesterday because there was no times or dividing. It's just plus and minus. Okay. So I will times each side by 7. We solve division problems by doing the opposite. Okay. Now x is by itself. 10 times 7 is 70. Now let's pretend 70 is right there. 70 divided by 7 should be 10. Okay, it is. Okay, last problem. So, x and -8, there's a line under it. That means divided by. We solve divided by equations by doing the opposite, which is times. Okay, by the -8. Because a times and divide by the same identical number, cancel the operations, and now I have just x with no operations, which is what I want. 10 times -8 is -80. Okay, now if I would put a -80 and divide it by -8, that should equal the original number 10, which it does.